Good evening, everyone. First of all, Council would like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung traditional owners of this land, and I pay my respects to all elders, past and present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. Thank you, everyone, for participating in today's 2020-21 Council Plan and Budget Submissions Review Panel. We appreciate the time you have given in making your submissions, as the community's feedback is an important part of the Council's decision-making process. This meeting is being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of this meeting will be published on the Council's website. Council's top priority is protecting the health and well-being of the Greater Geelong community, which is why we're following the recommendations to limit our gatherings of people. Residents are still able to get involved by being able to address the panel over the phone if they have requested to speak to their submission. Firstly, I'd like to call for any apologies if there are any. Noted. Do we have any declarations of conflicts of interest? None noted. I'd now like to note the following. The Submissions Review Panel has been formed to hear formal submissions made by members of the community in relation to the 2020-21 Council Plan and Budget. The Submissions Review Panel will operate within the context of the Local Government Act 1989, the Domestic Animals Act 1994, together with any other act of regulation nominated by Council. I'd like to advise all submitters that this is a hearing, not a debate, nor a question and answer session. Due to COVID-19 social distancing requirements, the panel will only be hearing from registered submitters via telephone, which all submitters have the opportunity to enact. Shortly, you will be called to address the panel. If you have previously nominated to speak to your submission, the panel's job is to hear your submission. To make sure we have enough time for all submissions to be heard, you'll be allowed 3 minutes only to speak to your submission. I will issue a 30-second warning towards the end. Please avoid repetition of submission content. At the end of today's hearing, the Submissions Review Panel will convene to consider all of the written submissions we've received and the information provided to us today. The panel will then develop a report for Council prior to the adoption of the budget. The report will be considered by Council at a meeting on the 30th of June and will be available at the City's website www.geelongaustralia.com.au following the meeting. All submitters will be notified in writing of the outcome of their submission. Thank you for taking your time to submit your feedback on the 2020-21 Council Plan and Budget, and for being so passionate about Greater Geelong and its future. We will now begin the submissions hearing. Go on.
Hello, Bernard Kelly.
Good evening, Mr. Bernard Kelly. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan. I'm calling...
Good, Trent, yeah?
Yeah, lovely. I have you here before us on loudspeaker in front of the Submission Review Panel. Are you ready? Are you ready to begin?
Well, yes, I am, but I can't get the webcast. What is that? It's not happening.
I believe the webcast is being online, and if it's not up now, it'll be being updated. I apologise.
All right.
Lovely. Mr. Bernard, you have 3 minutes. Your time will start as soon as you begin.
You're right. Well, Trent, basically, the age of the modern elder is already upon us. It's that 20-year space between leaving the workforce and becoming a senior citizen. Now, the City of Geelong, the City of Greater Geelong, is like most institutions across the Western world. We've yet to actually recognise that this new cohort has arrived. In the old days, we would say there were 3 parts to our life. It's education, a career, and then retirement. And now, Trent, where there's a new one squeezed in there, which is education, career, then the 20-year gap, which is when you're a modern elder, and then eventually you get on to retirement. So in that 20-year space between age 65 and 85 or thereabouts, that's that cohort that I'm talking about, and institutions like the City of Great Geelong have to cater to that group. And you can really identify this cohort because all we say is, I'm too young to retire. Now, my solution is to get the city started is that it should just read or give some additional direction to the Geelong Regional Libraries Corporation to emphasise its programs in that space and in the area of lifelong learning. So just to recapitulate, let's go to the Geelong Regional Library Corporation and get them to re-emphasise the programs they offer in that space for lifelong learning.
Thank you, Ms Bernard. Is that the end of your submission?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for making the time for this evening. Your submission has been heard by the panel.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening.
And what happens now? Where do I go from here?
We will finish this call and you will be advised of a submission at the end.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next one.
Hello?
Hello, this is Councillor Trent Sullivan. Am I speaking to Miss Kasuni Mendes?
Yes, you are.
Hello, Ms Kasuni. I have you on speaker here before the submissions review panel this evening. Are you ready to begin your submission?
I am.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes to do so, and I'll give you a 30 seconds warning towards the end. You may start whenever you please.
Sure, thank you. The Alliance for Gambling Reform brings together organisations and local councils from across Australia to advocate for the reform of the gambling industry. We campaign for reforms of the gambling industry that reduce the harm that it causes. Latest figures show that Australia-wide almost $25 billion was lost to gambling. Increasingly, research shows that there are links between gambling harm and other public health issues, such as mental ill health, family violence, homelessness, and other chronic illnesses. The Alliance is the only non-partisan national advocacy organisation dedicated to preventing gambling harm. We refuse funding links to the gambling industry. Our board and staff have lived experience of gambling harm, skills in advocacy, media, community development and policy. Our staff also include our council's gambling harm team, our campaigns team and our Champions for Change team, who help lift the voices of lived experience advocates. The City of Geelong has the fourth highest amount of losses of all local government areas in the state. On average, $326,000 are lost every day at the pokies in the City of Geelong. We've seen the leadership council has shown in standing by the community to oppose pokies. This is really great to see. Council's current electronic gaming machine policy also seeks to reduce gambling harm in the community, and one of the key objectives is to take an advocacy role in relation to government policies. We know that in seeking to reduce gambling harms in our local communities, we'll have a much better chance if we use our voices together in a coordinated way. That's why our network of leadership councils is so important and why we are seeking a partnership with the City of Geelong to join us. The Alliance is also deeply concerned about the rise in online gambling products being promoted to people during this time of crisis due to COVID-19. We know that the community will be experiencing heightened levels of anxiety and increased physical and mental ill health, instability and financial stress. We also know that people who are necessarily socially isolated are more vulnerable to gambling harm. Communities are in great need of protection from gambling harm at present. At the same time, the disruptive nature of these events mean that we have an opportunity to reassess the pervasive and harmful presence of gambling in our society and the influence that the industry has come to wield. That's why we've recently launched our campaign to end gambling ads in sport, just like we did with tobacco.
Ma'am, you have 30 seconds left.
Thank you. In summary, Council's doing a great job. We'd love to help you take your advocacy and local actions further and work together to reduce harm from gambling in Geelong. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kasuni, and thank you very much for taking the time to address the review panel. You'll be notified in writing of the outcome of your submission.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
You too. Bye.
Austin Patterson.
Good evening, Mr. Austin Patterson. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan here from the Submissions Review Panel.
Hi, Trent.
Hello. I have you on speaker here before the panel. Are you ready to begin your submission?
Absolutely.
Lovely. You have 3 minutes. I will give you a warning with 30 seconds left, and you can start whenever you may, please.
Thanks, Trent. Well, councillors, as mentioned in my written submission, my involvement as a funder and supporter of NCI, Norlane Community Initiatives, goes back to 2008, when I was CEO of the R.E. Ross Trust, and over the past 6 years as one of the advisors to the Percy Baxter Charitable Trust. Some councillors would be aware that in 2015, NCI's Spurren Avenue Community Hub suffered an aggravated burglary on the on-site residence, which resulted in its closure, and this was followed by an arson attack on the church building where some of the community development workers lived. And that was around the time when a number of churches in the northern part of Geelong were also attacked and were burnt down. Remarkably, Norlane Community Initiatives viewed these incidents as an opportunity to increase the capacity of their community services work which is greatly respected and admired by the Percy Baxter Trust advisors and the trustees, as well as many other of Geelong's leading philanthropists and other philanthropic trusts based in Geelong and Melbourne. Anyway, subsequently, NCI discussed with the Percy Baxter Trust advisors and others a proposal for a 4-stage redevelopment of the community hub, which included building a new residence for the community development workers, demolition of the fire-damaged buildings, renovations to existing buildings, and outdoor landscaping and renovations. In response to this, in 2016, the Percy Baxter Charitable Trust made a 3-year commitment to Norlane Community Initiatives of $240,000. The Percy Baxter Trust's contribution to stage 1 of the project, I think you could say, reflected its appreciation of the importance of having NCI community workers living on site and within the community neighbourhood of Norlane. So in providing the $240,000 funding for stage 1, which was the new 5-bedroom residence, which is now well underway, and I saw some photos of it today, and well designed to be fit for purpose housing for the community workers, reflected the trustees' appreciation for the need for the community workers to be living on site.
Mr. Patterson, you have 30 seconds left.
Okay. The funding sought from council in this year's budget is the product of careful planning, and stage 2 for which council funding is sought is now in full swing and supported by generous pro bono support from a number of leading business people within the Geelong community. So finally, Percy Baxter Trust is delighted to see that council is seriously considering its support for this important and worthwhile project, and many thanks to the council for taking time to listen to the submission.
Thank you. Well done.
That was a rush.
No, we understand the difficulties. Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson. Your submission has been heard by the review panel, and you'll be notified of the outcome by writing.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Lovely. Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, Ben speaking.
Good afternoon, Ben. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan here of the Submissions Review Panel.
Hello, Councillor.
Hello. I have you on speaker before the entire panel. Are you ready to begin your submission?
Certainly.
Lovely. You have 3 minutes. I will issue a warning when you have 30 seconds left, and you may start whenever you wish.
Rightio. So the Geelong Chamber of Commerce has been in constant contact with our members over the last 2 or 3 months, and as you can tell, they're really hurting. It's tough times out there, and I think those tough times are going to last certainly into the near future. The COVID restrictions have meant that many of them needed to shut down or significantly reduce their operations and their staff. These businesses employ many people across the region, and we need to ensure as much cash flow as possible goes towards maintaining people's jobs. That's the main thing. In the end, businesses are just made up of real people in the end. In response to your draft budget, the Geelong Chamber of Commerce would like to request industrial and commercial rates remain at the same levels. The City of Greater Geelong has the highest rates in Victoria for industrial and commercial properties in rates, as well as exceedingly high valuations that make doing business in Geelong considerably more expensive than other areas, especially almost twice as high as Wyndham, our nearest competitor. We need to be open for business and we need to be competitive. That's certainly really important at the moment. Our interpretation of the budget suggests that commercial rates will increase by about 7% this coming year. This is reflective of a 1.6% increase in commercial rates on top of a substantial increase in property valuations. We note residential rates are capped at 2.5%. We're worried that 7% gouges additional revenues from already hurting businesses. We've been told that valuations are independent of COVID consideration, property valuations that is, but we think that it should take into account the extraordinary circumstances of the crisis. That's our key point. Many of our members are concerned with this budget item. We've spoken to so many of them about this. Given the current economic environment, we believe the following should be considered. There is uncertainty around the valuation of commercial property, and its anticipated falls of up to 15% may be likely. Many businesses are not trading and have no income. Many businesses have negotiated rent relief through deferrals until September. After then, it's likely businesses will be paying an additional amount to repay the deferral on top of their principal rent. Some businesses may then be paying as much as 3 times the amount they are paying during this current period on their rent. A substantial rate increase would compound the issue.
Mr. Flint, you have 30 seconds left.
We commend the City for their support initiatives, but we believe a freeze on the commercial rate increase and the property revaluation also needs to occur to ensure struggling businesses are not hit with additional costs at a time when they're getting back on their feet. We need to work together to reduce the burden and help businesses to reopen and thrive, to rebuild the confidence of the business community. This would be an important step forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flynn, and thank you for taking the time and understanding the difficult circumstances we're under. Your submission has been heard by the panel, and we will be notifying you of the outcome in writing.
Thank you for your time.
Lovely. Thank you. Good evening. It was before 8 a.m, Councillor, I may consider.
Morning at the moment.
Hello?
Good evening.
Hello?
Good evening. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan. Am I speaking to a Mr. Paul Taylor?
No, wrong name, sorry.
Your name? Sorry, I apologise. To whom am I speaking?
Pittman, not Taylor.
Our mistake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Martin Wilson speaking.
Good evening, Martin. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel.
Oh, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, and I hope you are too. Now, I have you on speakerphone in front of the entire panel. Are you ready to make your submission this evening?
Yes, I am.
Lovely. You have 3 minutes to do so. I will be issuing a warning with 30 seconds to go, and you may start whenever you please.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present to the panel our proposed project for a Bellarine Peninsula Seniors Activity Hub. Many of the populated centres on the Bellarine Peninsula are facing a growth in the number of seniors. There is a lack of large indoor recreation infrastructure space on the Bellarine Peninsula that we believe needs to be addressed, since interest in indoor recreation club activities continues to grow. Existing halls will not meet these objectives, either currently or in the near future. Our proposal, we believe, reflects minimal direct costs to the council budget. At the same time, a project that will create an opportunity to provide a great benefit to the community, the infrastructure on the Bellarine Peninsula, and the city of Greater Geelong. In terms of the city's contribution to the project, this will involve 3 items: the provision of the land area, one that is currently owned by the council at Marcus Hill, the cost for feasibility study, and the architect's fees. The major portion of the project, $1.7 million over 21-22 and 22-23 financial years, will come from Victorian state government grants of $600,000, federal government $1 million, and a $100,000 balance will be sourced through donations from local business and the community. Subject to available grant monies, we have already received positive support from Minister Libby Corker, Senator Sarah Henderson, and Minister Liz Neville in support for the project. We believe that the various user groups will be the lifeline of the hub. After the initial formation years, the user groups will sustain the hub. We estimate in the hub's 3rd year in operation, we will achieve revenue of over $110,000. The hub's sustainability over the first 5 years will come from core user groups attracted to the hub, many of which have already expressed a desire to come to the new hub. The proposed hub is endeavouring to attract 4 types of hub users: user groups supported by regional service provider organisations, permanent independent user groups that are self-supporting, permanent casual hirers, and very casual hire groups. The proposal we have provided presents in detail the development committee's direction in the project.
Martin, you have 30 seconds left.
We believe our project demonstrates the city's commitment to putting our community first, as the proposed hub will provide more quality space to support active lifestyle. We certainly seek your support in bringing this project to fruition. Thank you again for this opportunity and for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson, and thank you very much for making time for us this evening. You'll be notified of the results of your submission in writing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No worries. Good evening.
Good on you. Bye.
Good evening. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan. I'm looking for a Mr. Paul Taylor.
Talking.
Good evening, Paul. Thank you very much for taking the time. I have you on speaker here before the submissions review panel. We believe you have a submission ready for us.
Yes, I have.
Thank you very much. Lovely. You have 3 minutes to make your submission. I'll be giving you a 30-second warning nearing the end, and you may start whenever you please.
Okay, thank you. There is no suitable space in the redeveloped Wyndham Town Square, according to plans that we have seen and discussed with city officers. For example, there's no space large enough
for indoor bowls, one of our main activities. A timely Eversley Street development will enable a seamless transition to the new facility, not disturbed by library constructions. It would be a shame for the Eversley Street building to remain empty and possibly subject to damage, decay and vandalism. Eversley Street is a good location for a multi-purpose community hub, and we are happy to share that building with other compatible groups such as the City Community Care staff who are currently in our building now and other community groups. Lower running costs, the unsustainable costs of heating the existing seniors and hall will be alleviated somewhat in the new building. The Eversley Street building is more accessible for seniors, better parking and closer to the bus stop in the main street. Drysdale Seniors members are really positive about a move to Eversley Street, and the committee sees this as an important move for the future of the club. The sooner the better for us. The club currently have about 100 members. We currently do bowls, cricketers, whackers, bowls, line dancing, weight watching, bingo and cards, and live shows that we do as well.
Lovely.
And sorry, and that was about it.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor, and thank you for making the time to address the panel this evening. You'll be notified in writing of the outcome of your submission.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good evening.
Bye.
Hello, Mark Newt speaking.
Good evening, Mark. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel.
Good evening, Trent. How are you?
Good evening. Well, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Lovely. I have you on speaker here before the entire Submissions Review Panel, and I believe you have a submission prepared for us.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Excellent, lovely. Well, we have 3 minutes for you to make your submission. I will give you a 30-second warning towards the end of that, and you may start whenever you please.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the panel. I would like to, in addition to the written submission I put in, just further support the establishment of a business case for the development of a new regional sports centre for both the sports of basketball and netball. A couple of things I wanted to add. For the Geelong regional area, we're well behind our contemporaries or colleagues, if you like, in the areas of Ballarat, Bendigo, Traralgon and Shepparton, who all have indoor sports facilities of world class that provide opportunities for people participating at grassroots level and the elite level. Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have such a facility. Our program to have this business case go through is endorsed by both our governing bodies, being that of Basketball Victoria and Netball Victoria. Both sports are strong in the belief that if this was to go through, it would help us meet our ever-growing demand in terms of participation and also through our elite pathway, as well as expanding our offerings. Again, both sports in the Geelong region have a broad reach, and when we talk about expanding offerings, it's at all levels and all age groups, from the ages of 6 and up, talking about participation at grassroots. Also, we would like to expand in the areas such as female participation and all abilities. We also believe it would provide us with the added power to give people from the Geelong region the opportunity to participate in national competitions from Geelong. At the moment, with both sports being basketball and netball, people who reach national level have to leave our region to go to Melbourne or to other regional centres such that I've already mentioned. For both sports, it will also provide us the opportunity that we haven't taken up before to actually work together
We believe by bringing basketball and netball together in the one facility will give us the opportunity to improve both sports in terms of what we can offer the Geelong community. We also believe it gives us the opportunity, in some cases, to combine our resources and also to learn from one another, which we think, again, will help the population of basketball and netballers within our own city and region.
Mark, you have 30 seconds.
No problem. Thank you. Again, I would like to just emphasise that both our sports are, in terms of participation and the availability for court space, we're oversubscribed. We have waiting lists, and we both view ourselves as having Geelong basketball and netball as the central part of both sports for our G21 region. That is me done within the 3 minutes.
Perfect. Lovely. Thank you, Mark, for your submission and for addressing the panel this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome via writing.
Thank you, Trent.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Bye.
Bob Jordan.
Good evening, Mr. Jordan. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel. I believe you have a submission for us this evening.
I certainly do, Trent. Yep.
Lovely. Thank you, Bob. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to speak. I will give you a 30 seconds warning towards the end, and you can start whenever you may, please.
Fine, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Jordan. I've had a long involvement in cycling in the Geelong region from the original bike plan days in the early 70s through various cycling clubs, and I'm currently president of Bike Safe that was founded several years ago by Barton Van Laar, who you may know. Geelong has established itself as one of Australia's foremost cycling cities, from the recreational cycling through to the world titles held here, and now the Cadell Evans Community Rides and World Tour Cycling Race. During the recent lockdown, there's been a noticeable increase in recreational cycling in our region, as identified by cycle shops who've had increased bike sales and repairs to old bikes that haven't been used for years. While this is great news for those involved, there are many who have not taken up this opportunity as they do not feel safe on our local roads. We must remember it doesn't matter if a vehicle driver who causes an accident or whether it's a cyclist's fault. In the end, the cyclist will always come worse off. Over the years, there has been a great improvement in the provision of safe cycling infrastructure on our major roads, with improved cycle lanes and safe cycling routes, such as the new link from the western suburbs of Geelong into the CBD along Villamanta Street, etc., and the planned link from Belmont into the CBD. There has also been a great step forward in the provision for cycling safety with the development of off-road cycling trails, such as the Bellarine Rail Trail, the Ted Wilson trails, and trails around the bay. However, one of the problems has been the lack of connectivity between those trails, for example, linking peninsula townships such as Ocean Grove, Barwon Heads, or St Leonards, etc., to the Bellarine Rail Trail. The city has taken a great step forward recently with the adoption of its Shared Trails Master Plan, and included in that was the resolve to refer identified priority projects for funding in the 2021 budget. Unfortunately, the 2021 budget does not identify any priority projects for funding, despite what is stated in the recommendations and adoptions in the master plan. The budget only allocates $250,000, towards which, and I quote, developing a prioritised list of identified opportunities for further scoping as specific projects for future funding, i.e. there are no funds for any high priority projects until at least the 21-22 year.
Mr. Jordan, you have 30 seconds.
Despite the master plan identifying priority projects. I therefore urge Council to reconsider the allocation in the 2021 draft budget and to improve cycling safety in our region by funding at least one of the 15 projects identified as a priority project in the Council's 2020 Shared Trails Master Plan. I thank you for the opportunity of being able to make this presentation to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan. Thank you for your submission, making the time this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome in writing.
Fine. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, Sarah speaking.
Good evening, Sarah. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel. I believe you have a submission for us.
Oh, yes, I do.
Lovely, thank you. Lovely. You have 3 minutes to make your submission. I'll give you and you're on loudspeaker in front of the entire submission panel right now. I will give you 3 minutes and you have a 30-second warning towards the end. And you can start whenever you please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for planning to construct footpaths in Coolabah Drive, Grovedale, this coming financial year. Grovedale Drive is a section of the Coolabah Drive is a section of the Grovedale Youth Walk that leads participants to Coolabah Park. It appears that the rough idea for funding the missing infrastructure is to levy abutting property owners for a contribution via project C02303 as per Appendix 3, page 9 of the proposed budget. The Grovedale Youth Walk is part of a series of City of Greater Geelong active transport walks with nice pamphlets that mention that walking is free. This factor is likely to be important to many residents of Grovedale, given that residents are typically below average in socio-educational advantage and that the average real estate value of the suburb is below the national median. The walk route was designed a few years ago with local youth to bring people together. To expect property owners who will abut the new footpath to now share the cost via a special rates and charges scheme is only likely to divide residents. Ms Shelton in Engineering Services published in 2009 that no matter how attractive a new footpath is, property owners in Greater Geelong historically resist sharing the cost. In Ocean Grove, where the median property value is more than 30% higher than Grovedale's, special rates and charges schemes received very little support from residents in the City of Greater Geelong 2016 consultation, where respondents expressed how they would like future footpaths funded. This suggests that hardship isn't the only reason for resistance to special rates and charges schemes across Geelong. Other City of Greater Geelong plans, initiatives and partnerships support active transport, which is great. Some projects may require a different financial commitment to what was first realised, but a more comprehensively activated initiative will result. Coolabah Drive's new footpaths deserve full council funding in this upcoming budget, and this will ensure that the City of Greater Geelong's Grovedale Youth Walk receives the local endorsement that it deserves. Thank you for considering this amendment to the proposed budget. Thank you all.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Sarah, for your submission and making time for us this evening. You will be notified of the outcome in writing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Bye.
Hello, Rose speaking.
Hello, Rose. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submission Review Panel. I'm calling this evening in regards to a submission you may have for us.
Oh, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good, thank you.
Lovely. Now, I have you on speaker in front of the entire Submission Review Panel. You have 3 minutes to make your submission. I will give you a 30-second warning towards the end, and you may start whenever you please.
Okay, I've got it all written down, so I'll just start now. The Belfast Sports Club has been providing sports and recreation facilities for the local Geelong community for the better part of 60 years. We are a non-profit organisation managed and run by volunteers. the club's development of soccer grounds on its own land and encouraged and assisted by the Shire of Karora to meet the needs of the community. Have recently celebrated our 60th year anniversary, we continue to promote a healthy, welcoming and inclusive sports club. Our club stands proud that it's not a resilient and a non-profit gambling revenue. Our committee has recognised sometimes the difficulties in meeting and ongoing expenses for the ground and building maintenance. The cost burden has been to detriment to the club, with clubroom maintenance and upkeeping being compromised. To meet this ever-increasing cost, the club moved to renovate its ageing main pavilion. The upgrade was not only necessary to address OH&S issues, but viewed as the only means by which functions could be hosted and that would be generated to the revenue required to meet our annual ground and building maintenance and operational costs. These costs are significant and continue to exceed over $30,000 a year. Our current financial position is quite a strain at the moment. We are unable to complete a pavilion upgrade despite encountering several unexpected setbacks. We're fortunate that a strong supporter of the club advances of $100,000 to complete the renovations and failing to meet the bank's stringent lending criteria. The Bisinella Development provided the club with 12-month loan of $475,000 in February this year. Vale Park Sports Club has the ability to service the loan was ongoing to be difficult, but nonetheless achievable as detailed in our business plan. Since our grand opening in October 2019 and pre-COVID-19, our functions have been quite successful. Since our shutdown due to the COVID, we have had a number of functions cancelled. We anticipate that the fallout of economic slump that will follow with COVID will make it most impossible for the club to serve our loan, and the $100,000 advance from Lena Bisinella Development 5-year sponsorship towards the pavilion upgrade are funds that we can no longer rely on to help meet our annual ground maintenance program. Our club has always been acceptance and opportunity for all pursue the game that they love.
It's 30 seconds, Rose.
Sorry, what was that?
30 seconds.
Okay. So with financial support, we similar to the extent towards to other clubs, bypass sports clubs were able to navigate the economic downturn that we're facing and asking for you to help us to maintain our grounds, if that could be an option. We feel that it's vital for our community to have a net venue to gather and enjoy social and sporting pursuits to survive the months and years ahead.
Thank you very much, Rose, both for your submission and making time for us this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome of your submission in writing.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, councillors.
Lovely. Thank you. Good evening.
Bye.
Hello.
Good evening. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan of the Submissions Review Panel. Am I speaking to a Mr. Frank Kennedy?
Yeah, who's calling?
Councillor Trent Sullivan from the City of Greater Geelong.
Sorry, I was listening to you on the live view.
Lovely, thank you. I believe you have a submission ready for us this evening?
Yeah, hang on, I better turn this down a bit.
Thank you.
If that could be an option. We feel that it's vital for our community to have a net venue to gather.
Yeah, go ahead, thanks.
Lovely. Thank you, Frank. Whenever you wish to start, you have 3 minutes to make your submission, and I'll give you a 30-second warning towards the end.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, good evening, councillors. Look, my name is Frank Kennedy, and I live in McKillop Street, and I represent the residents of the eastern end of McKillop Street. That is the local council section of McKillop Street. What we are asking for is for you to please set aside some money where we can get some urgent works done.
Since I made that submission, we've had a further 2 accidents in McKillop Street. Last Thursday, there was a major accident on the corner of McKillop and Norman Road, and on the Friday, there was another accident on Meakin Street and McKillop Street. And both accidents had police in attendance. We feel, after 5 attempts now, trying to get something done in McKillop Street regarding the heavy vehicle traffic, what we're asking for is for the council to please help us and set aside some money in this coming budget to please help us put in a pedestrian crossing outside the hub. For those who don't know, the hub is now the regional centre for the disabled. It is also a very busy meeting place for local residents and for East Geelong in particular. What we're asking for is also to have a weight limit on the heavy vehicles and also a speed limit placed on the eastern end of McKillop Street. We want the council to be proactive and not reactive. The pendulum has now shifted from not if an accident will occur, a major accident will occur, it'll be when. And it's gone from the possible to now the probable. And I know that if we can get something done before the heavy vehicles are moved out of Ryrie Street, which Vic Roads want, and go into McKillop Street, which looks like may happen as Vic Roads control the western end of McKillop Street. We just want something done now, please. And it's not a lot of money what we're asking for.
30 seconds, Frank.
Thank you. It's not a lot of money, but it's something we want done. And if you could help us, please, in this upcoming budget, we'd be very, very much appreciative. Thank you very much for your time.
Lovely. Thank you, Frank, both for your submission and for making time for us this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome of your submission in writing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. This is Councillor Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel. Am I speaking to Vicky Perrett?
You are.
Good evening, Vicky.
Yep.
I believe you have a submission for us this evening.
I do. I've just got to close down the one that I'm listening to because that's a bit off-putting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Trent,
Lovely.
And to the other councillors. Very quickly, this is a great opportunity to ask council to perhaps rethink its priorities when it's finalising this budget. Net zero emissions by 2050 or earlier is fast becoming the norm in support of the Paris climate goals. All 8 Australian states and territories have set this emission target, and so has the City of Greater Geelong. 2020 is the start of a crucial decade as we approach critical ecological tipping points. The Council has already recognised that we are facing a global climate emergency. The new Local Government Act for 2020 has set out a number of overarching governance principles for Council to follow, one of them being a priority to make decisions that are the best outcomes for the municipal community, including future generations, and another one about the economic, social, environmental sustainability of the municipal district, including mitigation and planning for climate change risks. Now, there are many worthy projects in the current budget and a huge number of capital works projects. We do hope there are energy efficiency and renewable energy generation included in those budgets and those projects. However, of the $4 million that's allocated to community grants, there's only $70,000 that's been set aside for environment and sustainability. This is a very, very low, 1.75%. So within this context, it doesn't seem appropriate given that the Council has recognised the climate emergency. council emissions make up a mere 1% of the municipality's emissions. The community emissions make up the other 99%. So while it's lovely to see council doing things to reduce emissions on its own buildings, it is a drop in the bucket. We would argue that budget should align with strategic objectives and that really the budget priorities, alignments have not changed over the last 5 years. We really could have just changed the date on our submission. Your strategic objective number 5 about effective environment management says you will show leadership to address waste, climate change and environmental challenges. This leadership must be outward-looking, not just focused on internal operations. It must not leave the community engagement and education solely for not-for-profit community groups like our own.
Thank you, Vicky. You have 30 seconds.
There must be real support and for residents and businesses to understand the challenges and respond. Several councillors attended our recent Clever Living seminars and are aware of the economic opportunities. Beyond Zero Emissions says there are 1 million jobs that can be had from a green recovery. If Geelong can become a renewable powerhouse, so I call on councillors to redress the imbalance and deliver strong environmental outcomes for the community, and we did put a few suggestions in our submission. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you, Vicky, both for your submission and for your time this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome of your submission in writing.
Thanks, Trent. Bye.
Lovely. Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, this is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel. Am I speaking to a Lauren Wilkes?
Yes, you are.
Good evening, Lauren. I believe you have a submission for us this evening.
I do, yes.
Lovely. You have 3 minutes to make your submission. You're on speaker in front of the entire panel. I will give you a 30-second warning towards the end of your submission time, and you can start whenever you please.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Lorraine Wilkes from Lara. I would like to talk about the sugar gums in Lara. I know some people love them, but you have to know their history to realise how dangerous they have become. Planted in 1918, burnt in the 1969 bushfire, then copiced and not correctly maintained. Plus, coppice trees should be recut every 8 to 10 years, and these have over 50 years of growth. In the 5 years I have lived in Keys Road, one tree landed on the power line, another over the road, and the third on the side of the road. So far, no lives have been lost or injured. But Lara is now a very busy town. School children, buses, essential workers, the garbage workers, postmen, etc. are all in danger. Also, if a tree lands on the high voltage power line, there will be a fire. One goes through the power line, then hits a household gas meter, there will be an explosion. I would like to see for Lara a replanting of more suitable trees for an urban area, with medium trees for the larger birds and smaller shrubs for the smaller birds to nest. I would also like to see the existing bike walking paths linked up with the paths in the new housing estates, giving everyone a safe place to walk and ride. We could also attract tourists to our town. Yes, tourists do go to the Yuyangs, but they don't come into Lara to spend their tourist dollars. This way we could attract tourists to our walking, riding paths, and they may spend some money in our wonderful town. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my arguments for a better and safer Lara, because my main concern is that everyone remains safe in our lovely community of Lara. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you both for your submission and for making the time for us this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome in writing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Joel speaking.
Good evening, Joel. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel. I believe you have a submission for us this evening.
I do, Trent. Thank you.
Lovely. You have 3 minutes to make your submission. I'll give you a 30-second warning towards the end, and you can start whenever you please.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. I'm making a submission on behalf of the tenants and key stakeholders of Landy Field in South Geelong, being Geelong Little Athletics Committee, Geelong Athletics and Geelong Masters Athletics. And further to our written submission, we request Council to allocate funds to improvements at Landy Field in the 2020-21 budget for urgent works to upgrade the toilets, first aid rooms, canteen facilities, weather protection and disabled access improvements. It is also requested to upgrade the PA and electronic display systems. Landy Field is Geelong's premier athletics track and field facility and is a certified World Athletics Class 2 level track. The buildings and associated facilities are in a very poor condition, and we receive numerous complaints from our members and community groups using the facilities regarding the conditions of the toilets, the change rooms, the first aid room and the canteen, and the lack of shade and inclement weather protection, and the lack of disability access around the track, and that athletes and spectators cannot hear announcements during competition. Landy Field is primarily used by Geelong Little Athletics, Geelong Athletics and Geelong Masters, but is available for hire by the wider community, including schools. For instance, over the past week, users include personal training groups, training, coaching and football and netball clubs, including the Geelong Cats. During the athletic season, more than 1,000 people would use the facility on the weekend. In the current COVID-19 environment, it is even more important that the facilities are upgraded, clean and meet current sanitation requirements, which they do not at the moment. Geelong Little Athletic Centre is the reigning best performing centre in Victoria for the past 2 years. Many athletes have won the medal tally from all state level events for 2 consecutive years. Our junior programs develop a high number of state and national level athletes. Our senior athletes program have developed and currently host junior world athletics competitors, Paralympians, Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games competitors. To improve our ability to foster this level of athlete, it is imperative that our facilities are developed to a modern standard. All of the regular users have events that attract large numbers of users from outside of Geelong to the city of Geelong. This year, Geelong Little Athletics hosted the Western Metro Regional Relay Carnival, which hosted over 1,000 athletes and their families. And Geelong Athletics hosted the 2020 Victorian Country Championships, which attracted over 1,000 athletes from country, metro and interstate regions. Landy Field also hosts the annual Steigen Spectacular Athletic event, which draws some of Australia's best athletes to compete for a large prize pool of cash prizes. Landy Field is located on Crown land and the appointed committee of management is Council. As a key user group, we enter into a licence to use the facility and pay an annual fee.
Thank you, Joel. 30 seconds
The entire
left.
site desperately needs to be redeveloped. Therefore, support is also required to develop a master plan to guide the future development of Landy Field. Geelong Little Athletics request Council to allocate funds for urgent works to the male and female toilets and change rooms, the first aid room and the canteen upgrade. We desperately need disability access from all points of the track and require additional weather protection and improved PA ability.
Thank you, Joel.
In the absence of Council convening the John Landy Field Advisory Committee, we request that funding is allocated for these projects. We also request that the toilets, first aid and canteen are prioritised in the works program to align with the start of the athletic season in September 2020. Landy Field is our home and we are deeply disappointed that Council has allowed the facility to decline, and unless there is urgent investment, it could compromise the future growth of athletics in our region. We have many outstanding athletes that progress through our state.
Thank you, Joel. I'm afraid that's all the time we'll have for this evening.
Level, and we are grateful that the track facilities are maintained to a high standard. However, we need other facilities at Landy Field to be provided at the same level.
Mr. Joel, thank you very much for your time. We'll have to end the conversation.
A number of football club upgrades. However, we request, as a key sporting group in Geelong, that there is an allocation of funds to ensure the council buildings, which are also available to the broader community, are upgraded to meet the immediate needs. Finally, Geelong Little Athletics, together with Geelong Athletics and Geelong Masters, have requested the development of a Landy Field master plan. It is
through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Joel. The 3 minutes is up, so we have to move on. So we'll have to hang up the phone. We thank you for your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Damien speaking.
Good evening, Damien. This is Councillor Trent Sullivan from the Submissions Review Panel. I believe you have a submission for us this evening.
Yeah, g'day Trent, g'day submission panel. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Damien. You have 3 minutes to make your submission. I will give you a 30-second warning towards the end, and you may start whenever you please.
Thank you. The Manifold Heights Career Club is seeking funding to upgrade its training facilities. The Manifold Heights Career Club, which is located at Hurst Reserve in Douglas Street, is in desperate need for upgrade of its training facilities to meet the demands of our senior men's, senior female and junior membership. The Manifold Cricket Club is comprised of 5 senior men's sides, 1 female senior cricket side, 6 junior sides, and recently experienced growth that saw us field 3 under-11 sides for season 2019-20. We feel that our facilities are no longer safe to cater for the numbers, and the inclusion of our female senior cricket side together with our juniors. We all like to train together, and obviously that's posing an issue. We certainly trying to keep up with clubs in the surrounding areas. I think we've got 5 clubs within a 5-kilometre radius that we're trying to support our kids. It's important too to note that both Clonard and St Joseph's schools can also have the ability to use our facilities, and I've seen them actually training at our facilities when school was on before COVID-19. It's important to also note that the Manifold Heights Cricket Club has been a major driver in female participation within the GCA in its inaugural year. Seen obviously the GCA fielding 18 sides, and we want that to continue to grow. I think it's important. We're also pushing strongly for diversity within our club, and we want to make sure that we are competing against other clubs. Lastly, I really want to acknowledge all the submissions that have been put forward tonight. I've sat here through a few of them, and obviously acknowledge the hard work that the panel has in making those decisions. Thanks for your time.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Damien, both for your submission and your time this evening. You'll be notified of the outcome in writing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Right. That was the last submitter who wished to submit to the submissions panel this evening. Thank you, everybody, for your time this evening, to all the submitters at home who called in, all the submitters who made a submission throughout the entire process. Please call us on 5272 5272, or you can get in touch with us online at www.geelongaustralia.com.au. Thank you. Good evening.